The bad news bears were out again in Formula 1 this week, with news that the Australian Grand Prix in 2021, after it was already rescheduled, has now had to be cancelled this season. But there's good news for Toto Wolff fans and Mercedes fans, as the team principal says that his team aren't giving up on the F1 title fights, and the stewards have upheld and defended their penalty decisions from last Sunday's Austrian Grand Prix. We dive into both of those big stories here on GPFans, bring you all the news from Formula 1. Before we go any further though, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button down below to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of F1 from the 2021 season and beyond, both on and off the track. Now that's done and dusted, let's get into the headlines. Toto Wolff has insisted he is far from resigned to defeat in Mercedes' battle with Red Bull for this year's F1 titles, despite another dominant victory for Max Verstappen last weekend at the Austrian Grand Prix. The Dutchman took his third consecutive victory and Red Bull's fifth by 18 seconds over Valtteri Bottas, with Mercedes powerless to resist the onslaught its rivals have delivered across the past 2 months. Now, with the gap at 44 points between the two teams in the constructors' standings and 32 points between Verstappen and Hamilton in the drivers' standings, Toto Wolff was asked if he was resigned to fighting a rearguard battle. "No, we never resign from any battle. It is the last thing we do," replied Wolff. "If I have to resign, you will see me going down, the fire with my hand and the sword straight up. I'm always the sceptical person. Half-empty glass. But in that case, I am seeing the positives. And the positives are there. Are 13 races to go. We are one DNF away from Red Bull. No more. And we have lost more points than we should have. We have lost due to our own mistakes. Clearly in Austria, or in the last few races, we didn't have the performance that we must have in order to fight Red Bull. We are very aware of that. And we need to just get our act together overall in every single area and hopefully perform better on the other tracks." Toto has at least taken solace from the P2 and P4 finish and described the Austrian Grand Prix a good result for Mercedes. Hamilton was on course to finish second with Bottas third after both Mercedes drivers had found a way past McLaren's Lando Norris, who had started on the front row. Damage to the rear floor structure of Hamilton's Mercedes, however, intervened and forced the 7-time champion down to 4th by the end of the race. Believing the result to be good for the team, Wolff explained, "If we hadn't have been stuck behind the McLaren at the beginning, where we lost chunks of time, we would have been racing him, Verstappen. I'm not sure that it would have been enough to win the race, but the race pace was there and it would have been good. You can see that particularly also with Valtteri's pace. Once Lewis lost downforce, the pace was there and there was never any risk from the back. So in a way, Sunday was much better than last Sunday, the Styrian Grand Prix, in what we would expect in terms of performance in the car." Elsewhere and off the track inside the stewards' room, FIA race director Michael Masi believes penalties applied to Lando Norris and Sergio Perez during the Austrian Grand Prix were justified, as neither driver offered racing room for their rivals. McLaren driver Norris was initially hit with a 5-second penalty for forcing Red Bull's Perez off the track through turn 4 as the duo fought for second place on the first lap after a safety car restart on lap 4. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner's initial reaction was that it was a racing incident, while Norris branded Perez stupid, as we explained in last weekend's video, for attempting such a move. Masi, however, explained, "In the first case, in Sergio's one with Lando, it was viewed that he was wholly alongside Lando and therefore there is an onus to leave a car's width to the edge of the track. After being sinned against, Perez then became the sinner and was served with 2 separate 5-second penalties for pushing Ferrari's Charles Leclerc into the gravel at turns 4 and 6. Masi added, "Then the same in the reverse with Checo and Charles at the exit of turn 4 and then Checo and Charles again at the exit of turn 6. There, the steward's view was, and obviously I don't sit in with the steward's room to deliberate, in all 3 circumstances a car's width should have been left to the edge of the track because the 2 cars were alongside each other. Now the question is being asked why the incident earlier in the year between Hamilton and Verstappen at Imola differs from what we saw in Austria. Across this season there have been numerous incidents of drivers running a rival to the limit or off the circuit that have gone unpunished. Asked specifically to explain the difference between the trio of Austrian penalties with the contact between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen at the start of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, Masi referred to a particular standard. I think the first corner, lap 1, and you have to remember this from a team's perspective as well, that all lap 1 incidents are treated in a more lenient manner, said Masi. That has been the case for a number of years, under the let them race principles, let's call it. But each and every one, it is very difficult to try and compare. I know everyone likes to group everything, but it's very difficult to compare two completely different corners at Imola and turns 4 and 6 in Austria. So what do you think of Michael Masi's explanation regarding the incidents that we saw at the Austrian Grand Prix on Sunday? Do the stewards' decisions fit with what we've seen earlier in the season, or are things changing and being inconsistent as we go on through 2021? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and of course Toto's comments about not resigning himself to a rearguard battle with Red Bull. And of course, remember to hit the subscribe button to stay abreast with everything that goes on here at GPFans.